I'm curious. There's a lot of you here. It's kind of standing room only. It got me thinking, why are we here? Why are we here? Why are you here, Toby? Good answer. How many people are here from creative agencies? Hands up. Okay, media agencies, hands up. Content agencies. I saw what you did there, Toby. Clients. Come on, there must be one client. Hands up. Yeah. Okay. So it got me thinking about sort of the whole content thing. It's a funny word. And I feel a bit awkward standing up here for many reasons. I think one of the reasons is because I'm working, so I work in an ad, what used to be called an ad agency, a creative agency. And, you know, so we're supposed to be pumping out ads, that's what we're supposed to do. But now, of course, we're trying to do this content thing as well. And, you know, sort of some of the stuff we saw there with AMV kind of gives a glimpse of the different kinds of ways we're starting to come at it, although I'd argue that AMV stuff isn't necessarily content, arguably. I also feel awkward because I'm not a client. And I think actually the people that probably have most to say about content are clients. And I feel awkward because I'm supposed to be talking about Waitrose. Is anyone here from BBH? Promise? Okay, I'm supposed to be talking about Waitrose, but it's a relatively new account for our agency. And I didn't even write the IPA effectiveness paper on it. So I feel kind of guilty on a number of fronts. But then it got me thinking, okay, what do I know about Waitrose? I have been working on it for probably 8 weeks, so I know a little bit about it. And it got me sort of thinking about, okay, well, when you think of content, you immediately think, right, it's those YouTube videos, isn't it? It's the films, it's filmic stuff, it's audio-visual, it's VOD, it's, you know, maybe it's a partnership thing, but basically it's film. So Waitrose has kind of got their own version of it, and you know, they've got a wonderful owned sort of a platform, My Waitrose TV, and it's, you know, no shit, it's got shitloads of brilliant recipes on it. If you ever want to find a recipe, check it out. Really good. But of course, as we all know, I'm sure, because otherwise I'm sure we wouldn't have so many people here in the room, you know, there's also a lot of landfill content out there. Stuff that, you know, it's not bad, but it doesn't really help people. So it got me thinking, okay, what's my point of view on content? And it doesn't quite look like this, because this was done in 2 minutes, but it got me thinking about what the fuck do we mean? Content. I mean, what is it? It's certainly not film. And I know it's kind of weird for me to say that working in an agency that is kind of relatively famous for doing all sorts of films stuff. But for me, content is so not about film. This is kind of what it looks like for Waitrose. I'm sure there's a much simpler, more graphic, ecosystem-y relationship way of framing this stuff. But this, for me, is kind of where it gets exciting. And it gets exciting for me because content, I think the fact we're all here, it means we're asking the wrong question, because the question isn't about content. The question is about what are your clients trying to achieve, and what's your role in helping them achieve it? And content does, at that point, play a role alongside other things, advertising, social, whatever. This is Waitrose's, or at least part of Waitrose's current ecosystem of content stuff. It includes this wonderful thing. Anyone seen any of this stuff? It's fucking great. I love this. I mean, the first thing I love about it, it's got Claire Balding on the back. What's not to like? It's brilliant. And somewhere in the middle it talks about food, which is nice. But that's just kind of a tip of the iceberg. It's the tip of the iceberg in terms of their publishing. It's the tip of the iceberg in terms of their online stuff and all their owned channels. And they've got lots of things that they do with that. Some of it's more e-commerce focused, like Waitrose.com. Some of it's more of a digital sort of iTab magazine format. Increasingly, it's linking into their Waitrose CRM stuff. Obviously, they've got their social channels. And they've got outside partnerships that they're doing stuff. So all of this stuff is kind of interconnected. So I guess my big thing that I just want to start teasing, I suppose, at this point, because there aren't that many PowerPoint charts. I think that's it. That's all I got. Sorry. It's about systems. It's about systems and how they link to feed your clients' goals. And it's not, the question isn't about content. It's about how does this thing help link into the other things that your client needs to do, and therefore how might you measure it? So for me, it's much more about business goals and how you interconnect everything. And this is where it gets a bit engineering-y and techy. It's about how you connect the data infrastructure systems. If you don't connect the data infrastructure systems, you're really going to be struggling. So, for me, the biggest job for agencies and for planners over the next couple of years is to sort out that infrastructure system so that you can actually not just attribute stuff to the last click. It's got to be through the whole journey. So that thing is quite a big thing for me. But there are, apart from, thought one is about systems. There's sort of two other thoughts I just want to kind of drop in, and then I'll get off and these guys can say some stuff that's a bit more interesting. I think it's exposed, the whole question about content has exposed all of us for being a bit shallow. Because not enough stuff that we're doing is really enriching people. What I love about this particular example, even if I can't claim credit for it, and I'm not saying it can't be done better or whatever, I'm sure it's one of the things I'll be working on over the next 8 weeks, but it doesn't start from a point of let's flog people's stuff. It starts from a point of what are our customers interested in, and how can we help, sort of enrich those people's lives. And that for me is kind of an interesting question, because it raises a dark question. And the dark question is, what is the purpose of your brand, your client's brand? Do you have one? Do you really know it? Is it sharp enough that you can actually do something like that in whatever format? Online, documentaries, partnerships, whatever. Because if it's not, you need to start thinking about it, because you're going to end up down a cul-de-sac very quickly just creating that landfill content about product attributes and stuff. That does have a role. It's right at the end of the funnel. So, challenge one is how do you create an enriching brand purpose? I think challenge two, for me, is about distribution. No one gives a shit about content unless they see it. But how much stuff have we all done with, for example, YouTube videos with 200 views on it? It's not good enough. It's not good enough, not because it's not great content. Because you haven't thought about the bit that matters, which is reach. Reach still is really, really important. Certainly for brand-based content, maybe less so for activation stuff. And I think the third question, which is maybe the most interesting question of all, and Marie sort of touched on it, is around organisational culture. And maybe the biggest challenge isn't for agencies. Maybe the biggest challenge is about how clients internally and collaborating with agencies create a system which allows them to be an activation hothouse and allows us to be an activation hothouse. So we do less campaign stuff and more just doing stuff, but it all has to fit into a brand, kind of a bigger organising thought. Otherwise it will sort of fade out like a star in the night. So that's it. That's all I got to say at this point. But just thoughts that struck me in coming and speaking to you good people.